Panera Bread.
I did work at Chick-fil-A in Times Square. It's really terrifying.
When I was working at McDonald's.
No, I used to direct traffic and sell tickets for parking. We would be outside in like ponchos and these bright yellow shirts, and people would pull in and you'd have to like chase the car and be like, ma'am, you have to buy a ticket, you have to pay for parking here. But at the time I was like 15 years old, so I was like, ma'am.
Working at a digital marketing startup company. Really?
Isn't that what you're doing now?
No.
Oh. I was like, I don't know if I can use that.
I'm a nanny a lot for a lot of different families, which is wonderful and awful all at the same time.
Haven't really had a lot of non-theater jobs, which kind of, I know. But
Congrats.
working in my theater department's office, still theater related, I know, but office settings I can't do. I used to get nervous every time the phone rang. Like the best part would be like, it would ring, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go, all right. I say this, I say this, I say this. And then like I hear somebody else in another office pick it up, I'm like,
Yes, let's go!
It's not really hidden. I mean, it's latte art.
I'm really good at really difficult video games.
Make like bird call train whistles with my hands.
No. Like to crochet. Like sweaters.
Only sweaters. Exclusively sweaters.
Exclusively sweaters.
I can moonwalk, but I don't know if I think it's fantastic. It might not actually be fantastic.
Do you have a hidden talent?
Yes.
Would you like to disclose what it is?
I don't know. Do I have a hidden talent? I don't think so. I think
nah, because if I say it, then I gotta be put on the spot. But I'm gonna say it. I used to be really into, like in middle school, I used to be heavy into like beatboxing. Beatboxing now is way different than beatboxing in 2008. But now if I was like, oh, I beatbox, people would be like, okay, yeah, and then like do all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, you got it.
Yeah.
Do I look at the camera or never?
I mean, does Central Park count as a touristy thing? I love Central Park.
Staten Island Ferry.
My favorite activity that is touristy in New York is to give tours of Manhattan to my friends. that are fake. That are fake. Completely, because sometimes people will be like listening and you're like, and this Los Tacos number 7 was actually where Thomas Jefferson invented the penny.
But I like the Disney store or the M&M store. Let's go. It's a great time.
Either go to Central Park, because I think Central Park can also be a local thing, not just a touristy thing. And also watch a Broadway show, which I know it's not a touristy thing, but a lot of tourists do that.
I love books, I love reading, and so the Strand is really cool for me. I could spend hours upon hours in there.
You know what never gets old? Central Park.
I have two. So
I'll allow it.
Thank you so much for your kindness and goodness to me. One is Uptown Garrison. It is a coffee shop / restaurant in Washington Heights. My second favorite place is called Hohote, and it is on 8th Avenue, and it is a boba tea place.
Molly's Cupcakes in the West Village, down on Bleecker.
There's a coffee shop in Queens called Sweet Habit.
The Hungarian pastry shop on West 111. I tell everyone about it, and also I'm a writer, so people go in there to write parts of their books, and so there's book covers framed on the walls. So I've been written there before.
Black Cat, Lower East Side, really great. Until they had like a stand-up comedy thing, like anyone can just go up and do comedy later at night, and. Next question.
I guess my favorite coffee shop or like is probably the Uptown Garrison, which is a place where I barista currently. And Lin-Manuel Miranda shows up every once in a while, and that's casual.
Where I live, I'm right next to the East River. So like the pathway along the river is just absolutely beautiful. Like in like 72nd to like 96, like you can just walk straight up.
Oh man, like really, a few days ago. It's like you get the like whole main character vibes when you're walking through the city and stuff, and sometimes you just like you have to cry on the subway. That's just part of it.
Yes.
I do not remember. I have. Trust me when I have.
I thought you were gonna say, I do not cry.
I do not cry.
I can tell you that is wrong. I think the subway may be the one place I haven't cried.
Yesterday.
I cry very often, have yet to cry on the train.
Wow.
I kind of flip-flop back and forth between crying because I'm tired and moving here has been difficult, and then looking out my window and realizing that I live here and crying with joy. So it flips back and forth.
I think 2019, yeah, I think that's truly the mark of when you're a New Yorker, right? Or when you sort of feel at home here is when you feel vulnerable enough to weep in front of others. Just like, oh no, it's like you're, sobbing.
Last week. Most of the time, if I cry on the train though, I put on my sunglasses majority of the time, so that people cannot see the actual tears forming, but they definitely can see them running and falling onto my book that's usually in front of me on the train. But
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Are you a New Yorker if you haven't? You know what I mean? Like, that's like, I feel like that's a rite of passage. You know what I mean? I didn't feel weird for it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like everyone around me, no one looked at me, but everyone was just like, You know what I mean?
John Mayer, always John Mayer.
Sam Bender.
I think that it's often heavily Styx. And maybe some Creed thrown in there.
Alan Stone.
Always Taylor Swift, which I just realized I'm wearing the cardigan. Also, show tunes.
Nicki Minaj,
Yes.
hands down.
Nice.
Hands up, actually. Love her.
Are you funny? What's going on right now? Like what?
Right now, it's Stephen Day, but consistently over time, the Paramore Riot album has no skips, so I will be playing that every single time.
Now, because I feel like that's a question that's always in flux for me, but right now, and I'm late to the game, y'all ever heard of Third Story?
Okay.
It was like a grand opening, grand closing for me, because I found out about them this year, then found out they disbanded.
Oh.
So they got this one album that I'll play like
On loop.
on a loop.
Raw cookie dough.
Vanilla wafers. With Nutella.
Greasy beef.
That's specific.
Yeah.
Irish curry and an almond croissant.
Pasta.
To pay tribute to my Italian ancestry, I would say pasta. And I would also couple that with creme brulee.
I have a deep love of sour candy.
Anyone that knows me knows that I'm literally cheeseburger McGee. So, definitely that. And people might argue, it's like, well, you do that anyway. Yeah. So that you're correct.
Headphones. Oh no.
Since everyone here is from the hang, it's safe to. Okay. Hi. I'm Cameron Harris. And I had to dodge paparazzi on my way here. But at the hang, we can just relax. Thank God for this community.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Only like a couple of months.
Since 2018, when I first moved to the city.
About 3 years.
2.5 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years.
I've attended the hang a grand total of 1 time, but I already love it, so I'm very excited to see what comes up.
I've been a hang member since about 2017.
I'm not sure. I think a few years. I think probably since 2020 or 2021.
I have been a hang member since its inception, I guess. I was at the second ever hang and have been a big part of it ever since.
It literally just popped up on my Instagram. This is actually not the first time that's happened to me, but it was definitely like a God thing. I don't know, maybe it was the algorithm just figuring out that I was an actor and a Christian, and it just kind of put it in front of me.
Kind of felt him sort of stirring me towards the city, and I was a little against it, and I was just like, okay, God, if you want me to be here, I need a Christian community, and I need a place to live. Then I met up with Ellen, and she was like, so there's this crazy new community of Christian artists in the city that's just like growing and exploding, and I was like, okay, cool, so that's that answer. And so I got plugged in as soon as I moved here.
I went and saw Revelation the musical because my friend Rich Swingle was in it and had no idea it was associated with a Christian group. And then I was invited out to eat barbecue with the cast afterwards, and someone mentioned the hang.
I started going to a church in Queens when I first moved here, and a friend who was not a member of the hang told me about the hang, and she was like, I'm not an artist, so I'm not going, but I've always wanted to go, so maybe I could accompany you to the first one so I could see what it's like. So we went together, and the rest is history.
I was at a church picnic get together, and a bunch of people were coming, so I just kind of tagged along.
I met Leah Beth, one of the first friends I made here in the city, and we kind of had, I love telling this story,
Yeah.
we kind of had, we were in this program together, like this performance program together, and I saw like a scripture like she had written like in her notebook, and we kind of just like, you Jesus? Yes, okay, yeah. That's kind of like how it all happened. And then, she told me about the hang, and I met folks. I met Jordan, I met Kayla through her, and kind of got plugged in that way.
Zachary Barnes told me in like 2014 or 2015. When was the hang established?
2018,
Never
but
mind.
continue.
I do.
I've heard it so many times.
Do you know the hang's mission statement?
No.
Okay.
It exists to support artists professionally, spiritually, and socially.
The hang exists to support artists professionally, spiritually, and socially.
Spiritually, socially, and career things for artists in the city.
Yes.
I know the three.
The hang exists to support and encourage artists socially, professionally, and spiritually.
Professionally, spiritually. What's that third one? I want to say relationally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right?
Yeah, socially.
Socially, yeah.
Yeah.
Socially, spiritually, and professionally.
A plus.
Every week that I've come, it has been just like this release of just, these people get it, they are on my same page, they are rooted in the word, like everyone seems just so solid, especially in the leadership and the teaching and everything, and I'm just so grateful that this exists, because I certainly would not have thought that these two worlds would have collided anywhere in New York City. So
It doesn't ever shy away from the truth, or from like difficult, deep conversation. There's such great space for that sort of necessary discomfort of, I don't know how I feel about this, and I kind of don't like how I feel about what I'm reading, but like, let's explore why that is and what that is and what the truth is. Hang never shies away from it, which I appreciate.
Given me more of a Christian community in the city, which was lacking, and for years until I heard about the hang, I had it on my heart for a mission exactly like the hang. I just didn't know what it would look like.
The hang, Bible studies in particular, challenged me in so many ways. I used to spend a lot of time when in group environments studying the Bible, faking it and being dishonest, and the type of person who was like, here's what I loved about that passage. And the hang has challenged me to really be honest about the things that I'm struggling with in the Word, and to share that with other friends who are believers, who also are struggling with things in the Word, and to really dive into that and to understand that God can handle the hard questions.
Honestly, it made a greater impact in one night than I think a lot of other things have made in an extended period of time. Because back home, where I'm originally from North Carolina, I'm definitely one of the more artsy people in all my friend groups and in my church. And so to be surrounded by people who have all been called to the city, which is a huge part of what I think God has for my life. So to kind of be in line with that, and to be artists who see the world in a similar way that I do, and then on top of that, to also see the world through a biblical lens, I think is something that is really going to be an important part of my time here. So just being able to come and see that I'm not alone in how I see the world and not alone in my experiences, and to flip back and forth between talking about the Bible and then talking about Broadway, and to be on the same page the entire time is something that I've never had before. So I'm really excited about that.
Challenges that you face as an artist, and even more challenges you face as a Christian artist in New York City in 2022. So I think the hang has been a place that gets all those struggles. Even when it comes to something like accountability, I find that the hang has been a great resource and place for accountability, to where we're always gone, and if we're on contracts here or there, having someone do hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, I need prayer with this, can you pray for me, I think has been monumental. And also just growing in my biblical literacy, understanding just theology better, knowing what I believe, why I believe it, how to share that, give an account of it. That's all been what the hang, just a little bit of what the hang has done.
I think the fact that the hang is a place that intersects art with faith, the friendships formed in that space allow for an establishment that you already know where they're at, sort of thing. You're creative in some way, in some capacity, but you're also a believer. And I think that lays the foundation for a friendship that you can't as easily find outside of this space. That specifically to theater, in that industry, it's so difficult to find people in your faith, right? Or it may be a one-off, it's very rare to find. So for me, encountering a group like this has maybe reaffirmed the presence that God has in this industry. It's not as apparent, but when I entered into this space and meeting the people that I meet here and learning about their professions, that was sort of an encouragement for me to say, okay, no, God is here too.
I had a really hard time with friendships all throughout high school and college. I truly did not believe that unconditional love was possible in friendships. As I prayed in high school and college that the Lord would bring people into my life who loved Him and loved the art that we do, and He just really just overflowed my cup with the people who are in the hang and now in my life. And they're some of my best friends in the entire world, and they will be for as long as I live.
Probably around maybe 2 or 3, and I did dance. And my first one was to How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? So my first memory is sitting in a little plastic chair on a giant stage and a big green dress with this stuffed dog and doing tap from the chair with the dog. And
My first time on stage was a nativity scene. I was maybe 4. I was Joseph, and I was up on stage with little baby Jesus and Mary, who was older and taller than I was. And I was standing up there with my little Joseph robe and my cowboy boots that my parents could not get me to take off, and just picking my nose as I stared at baby Jesus.
My first time on stage was I played the Velveteen Rabbit in kindergarten.
Yes.
So I had these pink construction paper ears and a bunch of cotton balls on my butt.
My first time on stage, just on a stage in general, was my dad was in a Southern Gospel quartet my whole childhood. So we would tour with him a lot, and I often would ask if I could come up and sing a song. And I think the first time he actually let me, I was like 7, and I wanted to sing Be Born in Me by Francesca Battistelli or something, but it was probably horrendous. My first time performing in a musical was in the 6th grade. I did Grease.
In 5th grade, I was in the Music Man, which was a huge deal because it was a K through 12 school, and it was the first year they let the 5th graders be the cutoff instead of 6th grade, so it was a big deal that I got to be in the Music Man. And we like rented costumes from Broadway, and the sets were huge, and it was like we were dancing with 12th graders, which was a huge deal, and it was a lot of fun.
Like in a show, like in a play, like in a thing? Okay. I was doing a play, a musical, when I was like really little, and it was about clowns. And we were all clowns in this play, and I remember being like, man, I'm not a fan of this play, but I tell you what, I'm kind of glad I'm doing this though. Like, it was weird. But I don't know, we all get bit by that thing, and then you're like, yeah, I can't not do it, or I can't not be around it. Here are these other 11-year-olds making me, also an 11-year-old, feel something. You know what I mean? I was like, no, let me get in on that. Let me see what that's about.
It was actually at church when I was very, very young, and I sang You Raise Me Up by Josh Groban. I ran off stage because I had such terrible stage fright, and I kind of like cut off in the first verse and ran downstairs. And eventually I performed it, but it was pretty dramatic.
My first time on stage was VBS. I did VBS skits all throughout like middle school and high school. There's some really bad pictures of me in like really horrible VBS costumes. Growing up, my dad's a pastor, so he just kind of like flung me in where I was needed. But then my first like actual musical theater experience was in high school. Freshman of high school, I was in the ensemble of Bye Bye Birdie, and that changed everything for me.
Hairspray.
See, because I'm fickle, it'll probably change. But right now, it's 80s time.
Les Mis.
Bright Star.
Anything from kind of I think this is all in the same era, anything from the Music Man era, the Sound of Music era. I love Fiddler on the Roof.
The show, I think, that changed the way I saw musical theater was Rent.
The Phantom of the Opera. Classic, timeless, heart-wrenching, beautiful.
I will say a show that I will continually go back to if I need just like a little serotonin boost is Wicked. But the show that I think I am most impacted right now in this time of my life is Company by Stephen Sondheim.
Ease on Down the Road from The Wiz.
My go-to audition song is Take a Chance on Me from Little Women.
If I need an up-tempo comic song, I'll go to Purpose from Avenue Q.
Nice.
If I need a dramatic piece, I'll sometimes do Tell My Father, and more recently, Falcon and the Dive from Scarlet Pimpernel.
What Remains by Drew Gasper.
Oh, great one. I dreamed a dream from this.
It's been a minute, that pandemic, you know what I mean? I would say I do. So if it's like pop rock or whatever that they're asking for, I do this really slow song by this dude named James Morrison. It's called Right By Your Side, which I find sits in like a dope place in my voice.
This past year, I like revamped my book and like ditched everything that was in it before and made all new songs, and that was extremely freeing and awesome, and I loved it. And in there, I put Out There from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but I do it in a female key, and every time I've done it, I cry every single time, and it's really impacts me, and so it's fun to perform and on audition. So I'd say that.
I immediately request footage of that. Thank you
Great.
so much.
I agreed to do this because it like gave me more things to do in the show. But they asked me to be Vladikov in Seussical Musical, which is just this like psychotic bird, like crow.
In college, I was maybe like 21, 22. I was an upperclassman, and we did The Secret Garden, and I played Colin Craven, who is a 9-year-old. It was really weird. Really weird. Never liked it.
I did Dancing at Lunasa my freshman year of college, and I was playing the 70-year-old uncle brother who had malaria and other health issues.
Chiffon and Little Shop.
Oh my gosh, no. Not us.
I'm so sorry.
No, I don't think that's happened yet.
Sometimes I perform as an usher for Broadway theaters. So it's not my ideal role in the theater maybe right now, but it is a way for me to have my foot in the door and be in that building and enjoy that passion. So for me, it's worth it just to be in that environment, and I do enjoy it. I really do enjoy the work.
I played Mrs. Flannery in Thoroughly Modern Millie. That is supposed to be a 6-year-old woman with a beehive, and it surely was something else. I will say that. Surely was.